Examine the birthday party as a comedy of menace. Marks 10-12. Answer. A comedy of menace is a play in which the laughter of the audience is accompanied by a feeling of some impending disaster. Throughout the play, the audience feels uneasy even while laughing because of its perception of some threat, explicit or implicit, to the principal character. A strong connection between the character's predicament and the audience's private anxieties is established strongly so that it results in a sense of inevitability. Pinter's The Birthday Party is a masterpiece in the comedy of menace school. The play opens with an amusing dialogue between Meg and Petey over breakfast, and the same mood continues in the subsequent conversation between Meg and Stanley. A sense of menace surfaces when Meg, Stanley's landlady, tells Stanley that two gentlemen are expected to stay at her boarding house for a couple of days. There is something about this piece of information that disturbs Stanley. With a view to warding off the danger he apprehends, Stanley engages Meg in a conversation of little importance. This information gives us a menacing feeling that Stanley has enemies who want to harm him, even though the audience is never told about those people. Stanley's account gives rise to a strong sense of menace. The feeling of menace is reinforced when Stanley tries to scare Meg by saying that some people will come that day with a wheelbarrow looking for somebody. Even though we laugh at Meg's childish fear on hearing this, there is a feeling of unexplained apprehension. Pinter offers no reason for this apprehension but forces the audience to interpret it as they like. Whatever be the reason, we have here a typical example of Pinter's art of blending comedy with menace. The sudden knock at the door and Lulu's arrival with a parcel for Meg heighten the sense of suspense. But the situation is diffused by Lulu's advances toward Stanley and her sudden departure after calling him a washout. The feeling of an impending disaster returns with the arrival of the two expected guests, Goldberg and McCann. The latter is nervous about something, but Goldberg assures him that no harm will come to either of them in the course of execution of their job. The audience is led into believing that they are going to commit a crime. Furthermore, Goldberg's inquisitiveness about Stanley almost confirms the audience's presupposition that the job these two men want to accomplish has something to do with Stanley. But just when the audience starts feeling anxious about Stanley, Meg's muddle-headedness makes the scene extremely funny. Stanley's curiosity about Goldberg and McCann's purpose of coming to the boarding house rises to no end. His anxiety is exemplified in his wild drum beating, which leaves the audience perplexed. Fearing a threat to his safety, Stanley tries several means to leave the two men, but all in vain. Then begins the real conflict which portends danger. After a good deal of argument, with hints of violence, Stanley is put through a grueling session of cross-questioning. The totally irrelevant and queer questions that Goldberg and McCann ask Stanley create twofold effect of mirth and fear. Why did you kill your wife? Why did you never get married? Weber, why did you change your name? Is the number 846 possible or necessary? Why don't you pay your rent? What about Ireland? Why did the chicken cross the road? Chicken, egg? Which came first? What makes you think you exist? The most amusing but disturbing fact is that everyone wants to celebrate Stanley's birthday, whereas he himself clarifies that his birthday falls the next month only. The events that take place at Stanley's birthday party have a symbolic overtones. Just when everybody is enjoying the game of blind man's buff, the electricity goes off and forms the climax of the play. In the darkness, Stanley first tries to strangle Meg and then attempts to rape Lulu. Goldberg and McCann advance threateningly and there is much tension among the three. The thought of the wheelbarrow starts haunting Meg the next day again. Her nervousness over an issue which seems to be inconsequential amuses the audience. She feels relieved only when Petey informs her that there is no wheelbarrow inside her boarding house. From their conversation we can fathom that Stanley has been subjected either to mental or physical torture or both. What exactly was done to Stanley is left to our imagination. Goldberg and McKen force Lulu to a hasty retreat when she accuses Goldberg of having seduced her on the night of the birthday party. We now meet a completely transformed Stanley, calm and quiet, clean-shaven, and well-dressed. The two men take away Stanley, despite Petey's attempts to prevent them, assuring him of his health. Here, a sense of menace arises again, and we have a tragic situation where we do not know what would happen to Stanley next. Finished. Please subscribe to the channel for more updates of ready-made notes on English literature. Also, please share this channel to help any student pursue a degree in English literature.